Hello and welcome to a brand new podcast from downtown Kentucky. I'm Austin.
I'm Chris.
Isaiah.
And that's Isaiah. And introducing Isaiah, it's like, a cool movie title. Movie credits. Starring Austin, Chris, and introducing Isaiah. This is Horror Bois. You may be thinking, what's Horror Bois? Well, it's a horror movie podcast, because there's not enough of those out there.
The market is hungry.
The market is hungry. There's only like hundreds. Yeah, it's
not hundreds.
You're right. It might be closer to thousands. I agree.
Tens of podcasts.
Oh maybe. No, there's at least probably 200 at least.
I've never watched a podcast.
That is true. You were telling us that off of video. So
Isaiah, our third member is a podcast version.
He is a. Well, no, he's not. He's been a
person for the podcast.
Well, actually, he's not. He's been on a podcast before. He just never listened to a podcast.
Yeah. Never. I won't listen to this one.
I don't blame you. I don't listen to our content.
I don't listen to my podcast.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. But that's
we've got a happy medium.
Yeah, exactly. We have none, some, and too many. So I guess before we start talking about today's movie, I guess just this is the first ever Horror Boys, so we should give a little bit of explanation for why this is happening. Because we wanted to.
Oh, okay. Is that why we're doing this?
I discovered a YouTube channel that made me fall in love with the idea of horror movies. I have historically never liked horror movies, but I fell in love with the idea of horror movies recently. So I said, I want to launch a podcast about horror movies.
Like the platonic form of horror.
Did
you enjoy watching Friday the 13th?
Oh yeah, no, I did, and I enjoyed this, and I before this have probably seen maybe 7 or 8 horror movies. Enjoyed about half of them, but I never liked the idea of getting scared. I always thought horror movies were not my cup of tea on paper, but then I do also enjoy a lot of the ones I've seen, and it makes no sense for me to be doing a horror movie podcast. So that's my qualifications. Chris, what's your history with horror movies?
I have always loved them since about the age of 12 when I overcame my fear of just about everything. Prior to the age of 12, I was a big old weenie, and I was the kid who would hide behind pillows if a horror movie was ever on the screen. So, I've been watching them for the past 13 years.
What happened when you were 12?
Oh, something kind of just clicked, and I was like, "Oh yeah, these are all just movies. Who cares? None of this is real."
It's fair.
All right.
Isaiah,
I felt the need for speed.
Oh. Top Gun? Your favorite horror movie?
No, definitely.
Well, I know for me, I guess I've never had strong feelings one with the other until my little brother, who really likes them, every time that I would visit home from college or now from work to my family's house, he would always at night want to watch a scary movie of some kind. Not necessarily a horror movie, but obviously a lot of horror movies. And so I've made it through, I want to say, the majority of Netflix's horror movie library, including all the B-list stuff where the narrator turns out to be somebody that's been lying to you the whole time. I hate that device. But I've watched all of them on Netflix that are in English and a bunch of the ones where there's subtitles in other languages, stuff like that, because my little brother can't get enough of it. And I've kind of grown to appreciate the tropes and the conventions and everything. So my first one was The Shining. That's another one. The first one that I liked, I think, was The Shining, and that was a long time ago. And I still haven't found another one yet that can top that for me, except for maybe The Babadook.
Fair. I don't remember what my first horror movie was.
I don't either.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it was cool that he shared it, but it doesn't matter ours.
No.
Yeah, no. Because that's not what today's about. Because today there is a theme. This isn't just a general, what we like about horror movies. No, today we are reviewing Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th, not to be confused with the crappy remake, which we will get to.
At some
Stay
point.
tuned
Really?
for future weeks. Yes, we will be getting to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless Isaiah quits tomorrow, which is fair and respectable. I understand it.
Wouldn't be.
Yeah. So Friday the 13th. So it was a fun movie. Where to start? General.
Probably the beginning.
Oh, the beginning. Oh.
Yeah.
What is the beginning of this movie? Because we got introduced to this girl.
Ah, yes, Annie.
Yeah, we sure did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, I've forgotten her name. I mean, I'm gonna get all their names mixed up.
That's fair.
Don't worry.
Me and Chris watched this 30
Today?
minutes before we are filming this, so we got you on names.
Yeah. And, in Isaiah's fairness, halfway through the movie, we realized we didn't know half of the...
Oh, yeah, no, we learned the names as we went for most of them.
You're on like IMDb looking at the cast.
I think I only had to do that with one character. The rest all, with someone else would yell their name when they were looking for them, and I was like, that's their name.
Yeah.
I just remember getting introduced to this girl at the beginning that
Yeah.
like hitchhikes to the camp, and
Mhm.
I thought about a minute into her performance, like I really hope that she is not the main character, because this is unconvincing to say the least.
I loved her.
Yeah,
I was like, I thought she was really charming and was disappointed. Here's the thing. So, I know a lot about horror movies, even though I hadn't seen. This is the first time I'd ever seen Friday the 13th, but I had watched like 2 different documentaries about it. So I knew. Yeah. So I knew that Annie was about to die, and I was like, oh, she's really kind of charming, and she could be. And they're giving us a lot of attention to her. That's a really good subversion of like expectations to like kill her, because you think the way they're introducing you're like, she's the final girl. Got it. This is where we're going with this.
The character you introduce in the beginning and spend time on is the one who, ends up surviving. And then they said, what if we didn't, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, they had a whole other intro. Like I could understand if they started off with her hitchhiking, and that sets the precedent.
Yeah.
And then it's like the next year or whatever. They did that flash forward, but they did that.
Oh yeah.
The 50s one, and then it was like, okay, now we've got the main character. Here she is. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
I love that actually. I mean, I can understand not liking her acting because it was a little too bubbly, and I can respect that. But
too bubbly.
And here's the thing: if she was in more of the movie, I might have started hating her. If she was the final girl I was hoping she'd be.
But she wasn't. She got murdered shortly.
She did a real cool flip right before she got murdered. That was cool.
Yeah, she did jump out of the car.
She jumped out of the car, and then they cut to her flipping, even though her trajectory was not her flipping at all.
Dude, that was such like a B-list Western movie.
Yes.
Like when they shoot the guy on the banister and he leans back, and then he like somersault. That was
Yes.
It was the same genre of
feel.
physical acting.
It really was, and it was chef's kiss. I loved it. Where are we in the movie after that? So we skipped a little bit. We skipped the first appearance of Creepy Ralph.
Yeah,
but I mean,
Creepy Ralph, the best character in the movie.
Yeah, Creepy Ralph was pretty great. Or was it Crazy Ralph?
We also skip a scene where we see Annie just kind of walking around, and then she sees a dog.
Oh,
she's like, "Hey, girl." She looks down, and she's like, "Oh, boy."
There's definitely a moment where Annie realizes the dog has a penis, and it's just like, why is this scene here?
Why did we include this at all? Why was this necessary?
That's actually my first note is dog has a penis.
Yeah, I also took notes while watching this movie. I didn't, and I knew that he had forgot to mention this because we were skipping around.
Whoa, I did not.
I've got to say.
Whoa, how?
Beginning with the dog's pecker. That was note number 1.
Dare you, Chris? I did not forget. I just said, well, Isaiah kind of jumped to the actual first important plot point. Do I need to backtrack to talk about a dog having a penis?
No, worth taking, according to Austin.
You know what? I did take that note because it was a jarring line to be like, oh, hi, girl. Boy. It's like, okay, cool.
All right.
This dog that's in 10 seconds of screen time, does it matter the gender of the dog?
Yeah, like it.
It's like she was told just interact with the dog, and she was like acting like, "Oh, hi, girl," and then immediately saw like its penis. It's like, "Oh, boy, in case this dog shows up later, I don't know. I'm only in one scene of this movie. I don't know what plans they have for this dog."
But yeah, before Annie gets moited, we do get a little bit of a exposition dump about like the unfortunate events that have happened at Crystal Lake.
A really creepy old man tells her this.
Creepy old guy.
Who like sees this like teenage girl and is like, "Are all the counselors as pretty as you?" It's like,
it's just that good old country charm.
He also, when he helps her in his truck, like
Jersey.
When he helps her on his truck, he straight up like full grabs her butt, and it's like, can we just poor girl, just getting it.
Missed that.
Yeah, that's fair, and
It's a lot of things you could have missed in this movie, or thought you could have missed.
I just remember. Well, I was like looking out for the villain at that point.
Well, you don't see. Yes, I see.
And you saw Ralph, and you're like, oh, for sure.
Well, I mean, it'd be a weird possibility because he's like the Shakespearean fool guy. He's the one, he tells him, there's this danger here, and everyone's like, oh, don't listen to Ralph. And then the guy proceeds to tell him everything Ralph just said.
Yeah.
I thought that was strange.
Ralph is crazy. Here's why Ralph isn't crazy.
Did you hear about those murders?
Yeah.
Crazy,
like,
Ralph. What does he know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, by the way, Ralph, I mean, he's a little bit weird, but he's truthful about totally everything. Also, you should be afraid.
Yeah.
He is right. There's cause to be, cautious here.
Ralph's crazy. But
he
crazy.
Drowned, 2 counselors died, there's been a bunch of fires. I don't know.
Crazy, right? Ooh.
Oh, also, you should quit. Yeah, he did say that you should quit and go home.
Yeah.
But also, Ralph is crazy.
Yeah. She does not, though. We actually, I think, then we cut to the camp for the first time, I believe. Yeah. We introduce some of those characters. We meet some of the...
Christy and the counselors.
Oh, we meet Ned and... Bill and Marcy?
Bill and... Yeah.
No, it's Bill and
Jack.
Brenda. Is it? Or was it
Jack and Marcy?
Was it Jack in that scene?
It's Jack, Marcy, and Ned in the car.
You're right. It was Kevin Bacon in that scene, and he's Jack.
Marcy's
You're right.
Kissing all over Ned, or not Ned.
Jack
loves Ned.
I know.
Jack's neck.
She's kissing all over Jack, and Ned's like, "Oh, I hope there's pretty girls for me." Oh.
And Ned is just the whole movie wishing that he could get anything.
Really, that's his whole story. I wish I could be with a girl.
That was the one thing that I did predict out of this movie was that guy was gonna die.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, it was
an unconnected, funny character.
Funny? Oh.
I mean, he was supposed to be.
The funny character.
He was the comedic relief.
Yeah, no, he was supposed to be comedic relief. He just annoyed me. Which, I don't know if that was on purpose. I don't know. Maybe that's what they wanted from him.
For me, his acting was, like, the most egregious out of everyone.
It was rough.
He was very, like, Groucho Marx or something. He's very, like, elbowing the guy next to him. Like, look at this Joe, get a load of this guy.
He then also, I don't know, that's later. I don't want to jump. When does he fake his death and then, like, straight up, force himself on a girl because he's trying to fake his death?
Oh, yeah, they're all at the lake after Steve Christie goes to pick up groceries or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he, pretends to drown. And then uses that opportunity to kiss all over a girl.
I think that was Brenda.
Brenda? Yeah.
I think it's Brenda.
Yeah.
It's either Brenda or Marcy because it's one of the brunettes. And I feel like
at this point, we're all rooting for Ned to die.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for Ned to die. Then either right before that or it was after, I don't remember which, we have a death of a real snake on camera. That's cool.
Yeah, they straight chop up a snake with a machete.
Yeah, and that's like the actors have said that was a real snake that they killed in that scene.
Dude.
Yeah.
All right. They did that in Apocalypse Now with a real cow.
Well,
a bit of trivia for you. Irrelevant.
No, hey, it's not irrelevant because it's about real animal death.
Real animal. So.
Yeah.
They gave their lives.
They did. They gave their lives for our art. At least, like, the cow probably got eaten afterwards. I feel like the snake probably just got thrown away.
I don't know. Maybe they ate the snake.
I don't know if this was shot in like Florida or something, maybe. But this is shot in probably California, and they were probably trying to make it New Jersey. I doubt it was actually shot in New Jersey.
Well, that was something else too. It's like a lot of the scary movies that depend on the whole like danger in the wilderness thing take place in like the middle of the country.
Yeah.
Or someplace. This is like New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's not at all how I imagined. I don't know.
That's fair.
And it wasn't near the ocean or anything. It was just a lake.
Yeah.
Or a river.
The heavily wooded area of New Jersey.
I mean, to be fair, there are wooded areas. A lot of them in the Northeast.
Wooded
areas.
I've never been there. My knowledge of it is just like bada bing, bada boom in my mind. That's all.
It's bada bing, bada boom, Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. It all smells like crap. As someone who's like traveled through, I mean, this is a complete side tangent, but it's fine. As someone who's traveled, like I remember where we were going. I think we were going to like Pennsylvania, and we had to go through New Jersey because we were coming from Massachusetts. The second you go into New Jersey, it just smells like crap.
Welcome to the We Hate New Jersey podcast.
Yeah, okay, maybe we should move on from hating New Jersey. Then Ned, the next thing I have written down in my notes is a cop shows up, and I wrote I hate Ned there because at that point he's randomly dressed like a Native American chief for no reason.
Yeah.
Or I wrote I hate Ned when
he's trying to score, obviously.
Oh, you're right. I forgot that
around was.
Yeah, maybe it's funny. It didn't work.
The cop showed up. What are you gonna do?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It totally would have worked if the cop didn't show up.
Yeah.
If you know what, once again, I don't remember if the scene was before or after, but there was the scene where he almost shot and killed Brenda for no reason, and she did seem kind of into that, so maybe it would have worked. Yeah, she was like still kind of flirting back with him after he almost killed her on accident.
Oh, but he didn't.
I'm just getting the name straight. I'm trying to remember which one Brenda was.
Brenda is the brunette who doesn't sleep with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the one who says, "Hey, we should play Strip Monopoly."
Yeah.
Yeah. Austin's favorite game.
Whoa! I'm more of a strip parcheesi man. My next note after I hate Ned is Ralph loves Jesus.
Ralph does love Jesus
because Ralph shows up and
he's a messenger from God.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So
he's just in the pantry.
Yeah, he's just in the pantry,
just standing there.
Yeah.
I'm a messenger from God. You have to get out of here.
Doom is coming.
I thought it was funny that when he went out, like, I assumed real close to where the cop had parked his motorcycle, Ralph's bike is there.
Yeah.
Tied up to the tree. Like, you seen Ralph? Like, I don't know. And then he comes out. Anyway. Yes. He was in the pantry.
Does have impeccable comedic timing.
And that's the end of Ralph, really, in the movie. We don't see him again.
Yeah,
that was cool.
For us.
Bye, Ralph. We do hear about him later. Apparently later, the cop mentions that, he does get home to his wife. So Ralph has a wife. Good for Ralph.
Another surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think then we there's probably a scene or two that I'm forgetting. But the next note I have is that Kevin Bacon loves storms because it starts raining and he gets really excited.
Yeah, he's
him
like,
storm. Yeah, him and Marcy are talking. Oh, actually, no, I remember. Okay, remember earlier we talked about this is where Ned fakes pretends to die so he can steal a kiss. Because then they walk off after that scene, and that's when this scene happens.
Yeah,
the storm scene happens after?
Yeah. The storm scene happens here.
That's when Ned actually
goes into a cabin.
Yeah.
And presumably dies off screen.
Yeah. We do see him dead later. Spoiler.
Yeah.
I don't know. Spoiler for you who tuned into this horror movie podcast.
Why are you watching this podcast? Also, it's from 9 1980. Or yeah, 1980. So it's not a spoiler anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you haven't watched.
Also, Marcy has dreams about blood rain. There's no reason for this little anecdote from her, but apparently she has these dreams about storms happening that turn to blood and wash away the rivers. And then they stop.
I guess the reason would be, like, foreshadowing. Right?
Yeah, I guess. It's just...
they all die.
That is true.
Rain, if I think about it.
Well, fine. I stand corrected. You did realize something I didn't. That is kind of a little bit decent foreshadowing. I still felt like...
The literature.
That's true. We have smart man here to make us better. That's why, this podcast is maybe going to work, because we have 3 different perspectives. He's really good at literature, but also likes Ned, so I don't know how to feel about it.
I didn't say that
I'm messing with you.
I guess my feelings are neutral on it.
That's fair.
I don't hate Ned.
That's
that was just fun. They all hate Ned. But I just saw him and I thought, that's it. Like,
no, that's fair.
Because he's funny.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's got to go.
It's fair. I think around the time that they sneak off into the cabin that presumably Ned had died in off screen is when strip monopoly gets brought up in the other side of the camp with Alice, Bill, and Brenda.
Brenda. Yeah.
They're all playing some good old strip monopoly.
Yeah, strip monopoly.
Yeah. I'm sure people have done it.
Say what?
Well, I was saying, I'm sure someone's played strip monopoly before this, maybe, or after this, because of this, maybe.
Somebody.
Are you talking about out of us 3? We just
no. Oh yeah, you're right.
Celebrating your
together.
11th birthday.
It was what? All right, creepy old man.
I would have been like 9.
That's true.
You're older than me.
You're right. Chris is the creep. He was 13. We also none of us knew each other then, but
No, we didn't.
now we cut back to some good old fashioned R-rated horror movie sex scene. That's right. This movie goes there, which means the second you see that happens, they're about to die.
They're gonna die.
They're dying.
Oh, they sinned.
Because
they're dying.
Jack and Marcy have some sex in a bed. Not compared to somewhere. I mean,
Yeah,
where,
sex on the floor.
To be fair, that does happen in like the opening scene. There is
dresser.
Yeah.
There is some good old fashioned floor sex in the opening scene.
In the bathtub.
There are lots of places. That's not the point of this podcast. That's a different podcast Chris might be launching on his own. I don't want to be part of it.
Sponsored by Adam and Eve. Unlike this podcast.
Say what?
Sponsored by Adam and Eve, unlike this podcast.
No, this podcast is sponsored by
no one.
Me. I sponsored it. I bought ad space to talk about Austin. How's it going? I'm Austin. That's it. That's the ad read. Back to the podcast.
Got potential. Well, Alice is the only one that doesn't strip.
Yep,
she almost does.
She isn't going to die.
She starts to unbutton her shirt because she started losing Monopoly, but there's someone at the door. But that's a scene from now. That's a scene from now. We're not there yet. We have to talk about Jack dying in like a really awesome way.
It is.
Yeah.
That is.
That the arrow through the neck blood spurt. Oh, that is.
Yeah. She has to go pee, and so she runs off to the cabin with the bathrooms in it.
Yeah.
And then Jack, laying in bed, just gets straight up stabbed.
Well, we paused.
Through the neck.
You forgot post-sex putting on just a tank top.
Oh, yeah, I got really upset at that. I forgot.
You did.
Yeah, Jack finishes having sex with Marcy, doesn't put on his underwear, just puts on a tank top.
Just the tank top.
And kind of just hangs out.
Just Donald Ducks it in bed.
Donald Ducks.
Donald Ducks.
And then he gets stabbed in the throat for it. After
he does deserve it.
Well, to be fair, that's after a drip of Ned's blood hits him.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then he gets stabbed in the.
Oh, what's this?
he gets stabbed in the really cool prosthetic throat that sadly is like 4 skin tones off, and that's all I noticed when watching it. I was like, oh, that's so cool. If only it was a little bit closer in skin tones.
I didn't even see that at all.
Yeah.
I was just
like
engrossed by the neck death.
I don't remember if he was darker or if the neck was darker. One of them was like 2 or 3 tones off. Like not like one where you're like, oh, that's fair. It was like, oh, they didn't even try. It was like, these are both skin tones.
When I start a metal band, it will be called Neck Death.
Mine's gonna be called Donald Duck in it. It's actually a ska band, but
okay. That makes sense.
That's better. Yeah.
Then we cut to the bathroom where Marcy believes Ned is playing a prank on her in the showers.
Yeah.
So she walks over to the showers and gets an axe in the face.
Yeah,
Which
really brutal.
Yeah, that might have been my favorite death. I thought
away.
Yeah.
And I thought they were gonna like pull like a Psycho.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the off-screen stabbing. And they put it right back. And
Yeah.
just
Straight up axe in the face. I'm like,
Axe in
oh,
the face.
yeah.
it was there, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I thought, because once again, I've like said, I know about what some of the things that happened in this movie. I thought, oh, the next scene was gonna get me. That was gonna be my favorite death. But that one, like, I was like, ooh, this is good. I think that was my favorite death of this movie.
I think she blinked a little bit too.
Just gotta point out the flaws. Just kidding.
No, that made it worse for me.
That's fair.
Like, oh no,
Like
she's
in a
still
good
blinking. It's not good.
No, it's
The
not.
bad blink was when, I mean, we don't have to get to it. The bad blink was when Brenda died. Because she was supposed to be like, dead as a doornail, dead. Turns her over, someone remarks she's dead, and then you kind of see a little activity.
I believe now we cut to Steve at the diner, I believe.
Well,
I think.
No, there's first the scene where Brenda's at the archery range,
You're right.
kind of walking around, and then like she turns around and it cuts, and then we go to the diner.
Then we go to the diner. We have Steve talking to the old waitress. Kind of.
He's apparently very familiar with.
Yeah, very familiar with.
Yeah.
Some like, weird chemistry.
It was a
with each
weird,
other.
like, he had some weird flirtatious dialogue. Like, I can't remember any specific things, but it just gave off slightly flirtatious vibes with this, like,
Steve's
60-year-old
leaving,
waitress.
He's like, all right, see you later, Steve.
Yeah. He's like, bye.
It was one-sided.
All right.
Yeah, bye, Sandy. It's like, oh, okay. He starts driving off.
In the Jeep that Annie gets picked up in.
I don't know if it is supposed to be the same Jeep.
That or everyone's driving the same Jeep.
I think there might
1980.
just be 2 Jeeps. I could be wrong, but I think the implication is it's a different Jeep.
Car of the year in New Jersey.
Jeep is, the #1 car in New Jersey. You heard it here first.
You heard it?
Sponsored by New Jersey Jeeps.
Just New Jersey. It's
Yeah.
actually a dealership.
It's a dealership called
from
Jersey
New
Jeeps.
Jersey.
Yeah.
Welcome to Jersey Jeeps. I'm Jeff.
Yes, Jersey Jeeps. So, anyways, now that we're done with our second sponsorship,
Yeah, second sponsorship deal. Jeff's Jersey
second
Jeeps.
ad read.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
had to write themselves.
yeah, they do.
Or
Back.
genius.
I'll be honest. I'm trying to fill in the blanks because the next thing I have after Marcy gets axed is talking about Steve's death, and I know there was a couple scenes there.
Well, you got Steve talking to the cop about the moon.
Yes, because
Yeah,
Steve
and-
gets. Oh, I know what it is. We cut back to some strip poker. That's when the door flies open, and that's when that's when Brenda leaves. So you talked about Brenda getting. That's later. We're not professionals.
No, we're not.
Maybe I gotta take slightly better notes. I can't just write when people die.
It seems like after like a couple deaths, you just forgot about the notes. You're like, all right,
I just got to the point where I was like, I'll write a note the next death. That's what I care about here.
the next death. Okay. There wasn't a lot of space. I feel like that's a plus for the movie. They jumped right into deaths.
Yeah, it was
It
nice.
was a good death pace
There was.
from one to another.
Taste them pretty well.
So then Then Steve it might have been another cut back to the crew playing Monopoly, but eventually they come back to Steve. He gets in the car with the cop. The cop eventually drops him off, and then Steve says hi to someone and just gets stabbed in the stomach. And that's all we see of Steve at that point.
Yeah, that happens for sure after the Brenda archery race.
It does. That happens after the Brenda archery, but I think...
Because I remember we're like, wait, did we miss Brenda getting killed?
Yeah, no. But we also didn't start talking about Steve's diner scene, which I think happens before the door and Brenda leaving for strip Monopoly. I keep saying strip poker because that's the game people actually play.
Yeah.
Or strip Parcheesi, the better version.
Yeah, the best.
Then my next note is Bill ? Because I remember why. I know why. I remember my notes are weird, but the point is Chris has other times been able to just remember everything that happens in a movie, and I was kind of counting on him doing this, and he didn't. So really, also I'm the only one who took notes, so I'm not going to take fault for my notes not being great.
Well, it's because you're leading the conversation.
Oh crap! Dang it! You're right. This is all my fault. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. This is my fault. So yeah, Bill ? Because Bill goes to the restart the generator because something's going on there, and he hears a noise, and they kind of fake out, is he dead? And at that point, we don't know.
But yes, he is.
And then later, Alice finds him like nailed to the wall of that building when she goes not nailed
with arrows.
With arrows,
which is weird.
Yeah,
it's very weird for a lot of reasons.
Like, I thought, okay, Brenda's fixing to be a pinfish, right? She's standing right in front of that target.
Right.
And then
they cut.
Like,
oh yeah,
who do we see like pinned with arrows?
Not only that, which is a very solid bad storytelling reason. There's also the fact that somehow, spoiler, I don't know, I keep saying that as a joke at this point, but somehow little Mrs. Voorhees pinned him to a wall, like a foot up. Like, this isn't Supernatural Jason from later, where he could realistically shove someone up a wall.
Yeah,
this
was one of my many problems. Well, not many problems. This was one of my few problems with the movie. Was just like the logical inconsistencies of like Mrs. Voorhees and the feats of strength that she has. And then we see her in these fight scenes, and she gets, like, hit twice with a fire poker, and falls over, and is like, ah!
No, this is easy, okay.
Okay. Oh, Isaiah has a theory here.
The door with arrowhead.
Well, she didn't. Bill turns around, he sees her threatening, and he
jumps
just, like,
one foot in the air, and then she stabs him multiple times.
She shoots him, like, 4 arrows.
Yeah. That's what happened.
I believe it. You know what?
Mrs. Voorhees was actually a international archery champion.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
It happened off screen. You could be right.
We'll never know what happened to Bill actually.
We won't. But yeah.
The greatest tragedies of this movie.
So after Alice finds Bill, she runs back into the house and
starts
freaking out, barricading. She gets herself that fire pick. She also grabs a baseball bat that she never uses.
Okay, do y'all remember that scene of The Big Lebowski where he nails that board in front of his door?
I haven't seen The Big Lebowski.
Well, okay, it's irrelevant. But like his door pulls anyway. So she ties the rope. Alice ties the rope to that ceiling hook thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the door opens that way. Whoop. And then she puts a bunch of stuff in front of it. And so...
And then she pushes the door open to see Miss Voorhees,
well, yes, there's also that. Like, she immediately destroys the barrier. Yeah, that's the more important thing. He's under duress.
But
she's not...
But before Mrs. Voorhees shows up in the car, which also, once again, how she can get to the car, we'll get to that in a second, she throws Brenda tied up through the window. I don't know where the rope came from. She throws her tied up through the window.
Chucks her through a window.
Yeah. That freaks out Alice. Then she starts running outside, unbarricading herself to immediately go out the door.
Okay. I was trying to... Okay.
Yeah. She goes outside, and then Mrs. Voorhees drives up.
Yep.
How did she
She's
throw
really
him through the...
fast.
What?
She just drives around.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
What if it
No.
was Jason? What if it was Jason that chucked her through the window?
It was a really quiet.
I mean, I guess it could... I think the implication was Jason was... We'll get to the Jason if he's even actually supposed to have canonically been actually real in this movie later. But there's implications that he's not.
There is implication.
Yeah, we'll get to that. First, we have to, get through the fight scene. It's pretty cool. There's, she ice picks her and runs away and hides in a closet. Breathes really, really heavily right while she's outside the door.
Classic horror movie.
Yes.
Mrs. Voorhees tries to get in the door, and rather than trying her best to stay quiet, Alice goes, ah! And jumps to the other side. So to make sure Mrs. Voorhees knows she's in there, if there was any doubt.
Yeah, you understand.
Then she grabs a frying pan, and when Mrs. Voorhees finally breaks down the door with the hatchet, I guess?
Machete?
Or machete, yeah. She just clocks the crap out of her. Takes her down. Yeah, takes her down to the ground, draws blood. Definitely concussion, CTE for sure.
That's her most effective weapon.
It really was.
Yeah, the frying pan.
Even
Well, I mean,
at the end, like
Should
with
have
the
really
door,
held on to that.
To be fair,
one attempt, and she doesn't do that with another
No.
implement. in the
No.
movie.
The baseball bat might have had a chance, but she never actually used that.
No.
Oh yeah.
She put that down and ran outside after Brenda got thrown through the door.
Yeah, why not
But-
throw away the only defense you have?
So the point is Alice is stupid. Speaking of Alice being stupid, after she gets away from Mrs. Voorhees, she just sits,
Sit at the lakeside.
just staring at the water.
Like, why, of all the things that you would do, would
Just-
that be on the list?
To stop running,
Well,
taking the scenery. It's really pretty,
the
okay?
murderer is still on the grounds who you don't know that you have killed yet.
You
have only
hope.
assumed
Yeah.
because you saw blood on the ground.
Uh,
Not like
I
a
was
large
thinking at
amount,
that time,
by any
like, say what?
Like it was the blood from when she bonked her on the head with a frying pan. It wasn't that much, so
no.
kind of almost assure yourself that she wasn't dead.
Yeah. So yeah, she.
Well, I was thinking like when I saw her on the lake, I thought, okay, now you should get in the middle of the lake. Nobody can sneak up on you. I ended up being wrong.
Well, spoiler, we'll get to that in a moment. First, Mrs. Voorhees shows up with her machete again and starts attacking her, but she has an oar that immediately gets cut in half. And she still ends up fighting her off, though. Little Alice somehow can take on superhuman Mrs. Voorhees, who can throw people through windows and pin them to walls, but she can't handle.
Time.
But she can't handle Alice, little tiny prude girl.
When she becomes seen by camera, she gets weaker.
Oh.
She's on screen. She's really, really
Yeah.
weak.
It's almost like
On screen,
she
she's
does.
superhuman.
It's almost like when she's on screen, they go, "Oh yeah, this is a little old lady," and when she's off screen, they're like, "I don't know, it's a villain in a movie. They can do whatever we want them to.
It's a murderer.
No one's seen them. They could be a giant for all we know." It's like, what? But okay.
Well, okay. How many people does she kill though? Where they just see her, they're like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah.
She relies on familiarity a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, she totally. I forgot how she totally threw somebody through the window like a WWE
Yeah.
wrestler.
Just tosses
She sure
her
did.
through that window.
Yeah.
Hey, to be fair, like 10 seconds later, she's in her car, so maybe she drove her into the window.
Oh yeah, maybe it was
accelerated
the whole
brake.
time.
Yeah, accelerate brake, and she went flying into the window. You know what?
And
I'll
to
believe
bring
that.
Jack to the door. She drove the Jeep up
Oh,
with him tied to the front, and then just pinned him to the front with arrows.
yeah,
It's
just
all coming
for
together.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The accessory the whole time.
And then Mrs. Voorhees bites Alice. I wrote that down. I don't know why, but I did.
You sure did. You sure did.
Um,
Dog penis and biting.
I also did. I do want to acknowledge before we talk about the last thing Mrs. Voorhees does. I do want to say that Mrs. Voorhees is definitely the best character in this movie. The acting that she delivers is just she kills every scene she's in,
She really does play a crazy person.
yeah, she does a great job. And then she gets her head chopped clean off.
Yeah. Which then begs the question, is Alice the superhuman the whole time?
Also, wow, fun little peek behind the curtain that a documentary about this told me. When she gets her head chopped off, you see the hairy man hands from the stunt guy who actually got the fake head chopped off.
His head chopped off?
Well, no, it was a fake version of her head, like casted, that was put on a stunt, like on top of a stunt guy, but his hands are in the scene, and it's like these hairy man hands. Yeah,
They were very meaty hands.
But like, there's like hair,
like flexing them and everything.
There's like hair halfway up, like into like halfway up the hand, and it's like it's a lot of hair.
It is very noticeable.
Yeah, and then Alice says, "I know what I'll do. I'll just go in the middle of the river." I guess you thought it was a good idea to escape. I guess no, but the thing is, there's no one to escape anymore. She knows who, but whatever. She goes out into the middle of the river. That river.
I'm gonna go sleep in the middle of the lake.
It's not a river. It's definitely a lake. Yeah, that's right. It's Crystal Lake. Right. Camp Crystal Lake. Yeah. So she goes out there. Cops show up. They're like, "Hey, you," and then she waves at them very serenely. And out of nowhere, Jason pops up and pulls her into the water. Or does he?
And then she wakes up.
Yeah. Or does he? And she wakes up in the insane asylum, and she asks if everyone's dead. They say yes. She says, "What about the boy?" And they go, "What boy?" And that's the end.
Is it an insane asylum?
Oh, not insane. I meant like, it's not an insane asylum. It could have been.
Could be a mental hospital.
Yeah, I don't know.
Could have just been a
regular hospital. Yeah.
Who knows?
General thoughts. What do you guys think? This is the first horror movie we chose to watch for this. What do you guys think of Friday the 13th? This is the first time I believe me and Chris have seen this. I believe Isaiah has, seen this probably more than once. The way he's talking. Oh, really? Okay.
I saw it once yesterday.
All right.
Longer than y'all.
All right. Cool.
Wow.
All right. So what was your guys' thoughts? I enjoyed it. As someone who wasn't a big fan of horror movies before, I'm learning that I definitely really at least enjoy slasher movies. They're definitely my scene. They're fun. Yeah.
You keep rating deaths.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something to do. I don't know. Trying to add content to this.
You're like relishing the deaths as they happen.
All right, fair.
Fun of a slasher movie.
That's the point of slasher movies, is look at the cool new way we killed someone. I mean, I feel like Tom Savini, the guy who did the horror makeup on this, wants me to marvel at that arrow going through that neck. That was the point of that scene.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. They do take their time.
That head getting chopped off. They're like, "Hey, look at this cool stuff we're doing."
The axe in the face.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not crazy.
No, like the point of a slasher film is definitely like, hey, look at the crazy way we kill people.
Yeah, maybe. Or I have problems, and you know what? That really wouldn't be surprising to me. Well, actually, I'm going to go to Chris last, because I know he has a spicy take that I want him to share here.
No.
So let's go to Isaiah first. Isaiah, what did you think of this? General, how'd you feel?
I'll admit that going into it, I thought, all right, it's from 1980. How long have scary movies been around, right, in force? Like, how many, well, another way to put it is how many scary movies have been made? Because they've been around a long time, but they're not just, like, cranking them out like they are today. And so I was expecting, especially since it's also so famous, for a lot of things that are now predictable to have at least been new in that movie. So I thought, okay, this is going to seem familiar. I've probably seen a lot of this referenced before in others, because I know it's so, like, such a standard.
One of the classics.
Yeah, one of the classics. And, there's people are always, every other scary movie or comedy about scary movies is talking about, like, teens going off and swimming on their own, having sex in the cat, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, I think I already know too much about this movie. I thought it was going to be predictable. And it was not at all predictable. When I heard the name Voorhees, I mean, I know who Jason Voorhees is, even though I hadn't seen the movie. And so I thought, like, okay, that's his mom, and I didn't know she existed, as a character. I didn't expect her to be a killer. And I was thinking that whole time, all right, I was waiting for the killer to be somebody that we were at least introduced to or referenced to. She pops out of nowhere. not even in that intro do we learn this backstory about Jason drowning while the lifeguards are off making the Beastie Two back somewhere. Like maybe those are the two blonde kids at the beginning that were, I don't know, but they were singing hymns, so that's not them. Who knows? Not me. But so she was unexpected. So then I thought, all right, so they're gonna just pop the killer in here. That's kind of weird. But then maybe they didn't at the end with the Jason hallucination, reality.
The world may never know, except for when we watch the sequel and we find out that I guess it did happen.
Okay. Well, yeah, I haven't seen the sequel, so I guess that's apparent. People have.
Well, I mean, obviously Jason has to be a character. We know that Jason shows up later. Like he is a character that happens. So like eventually he has to show up.
Well, you said okay. That's a good point. I'm also just kind of stupid, but when he did show up at the end, I thought, okay, so we were introduced to the killer before he showed up. Because Jason's mom talked about Jason, and then he's there. So he did have like kind of the presentation that Jason's mom didn't have. So that kind of satisfied that story arc requirement, if you want to call it that, for me. But it was everything. There was a lot of unexpectedness. Yeah. For me, at least.
I like the way they subverted expectations on things. You know, little old lady killer killing what seemed to be the way they were telling the story, the obvious final girl first. Like, those are two things that, like, I think deserve a lot of credit. And, you know, honestly, I don't think I've heard that many people talk about, like, the way they killed Annie as, like, a thing. I've heard people talk about, oh, you know, Mrs. Voorhees, like, oh, wow, no one saw Mrs. Voorhees coming. But I feel like killing Annie first is like a big deal. But at the same point, though, that might be with some retrospect thinking of the way Final Girls work now. When the first Final Girl was like Halloween in like 78, so this is only like 2 years after that trope even kind of started. So like maybe it wasn't as big a deal, so we weren't supposed to think. Maybe that's retroactively even more clever than they thought it was. You know, I don't know.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, let's hear your take.
Well, before we get to the spicy part of it,
okay,
I would like to say that I did like a lot of this movie. Like you guys were saying, they subverted a lot of the expectations, while also having like a lot of the classic horror movie tropes in there, that are at times kind of silly, but on the whole, a very like fun slasher to watch. And I did have a little bit of the movie spoiled for me, despite having not watched it at all.
Sorry.
Austin was like, "Oh, well, Jason is really only in this like at the end part," and I was like, "Oh."
I thought everyone knew that. I didn't know. I thought that was. I don't care about horror movies, and I knew that because I thought it was like common knowledge. I'd heard that years ago.
I didn't know it. I've been hearing about this movie all my life, and I had no idea until I watched it for the first time yesterday.
You know what? You probably had a better experience.
Assuming that Jason would have been the killer had he not, but then after he told me that he wasn't, I was like, okay. So I know that in the beginning, when he's like, oh, talking about the kids that were killed and the one kid that drowned, I knew that the one kid that drowned was definitely Jason. I was like, oh, so it's definitely Jason Voorhees' mom getting like revenge on the campers. For killing his kid.
I'm sorry I spoiled the movie for you.
And the whole movie, Austin was just trying to convince me that, I don't know, maybe it's not.
It could be that cop, that weird cop from that one scene.
Oh, they were smoking the devil's lettuce.
Weed is bad. So Chris, any other takes on the movie?
I do. And it is in regards to the movie soundtrack. One that is, renowned as iconic.
Beloved by most people.
Beloved by many.
Beloved?
I feel like I've only ever heard people like referring to this in a good way. Okay, it looks like Azada also doesn't like it, so apparently this is just a podcast of spicy takes on the soundtrack.
Okay, so this is, someone who has never watched any of the Friday the 13th movies, so have no nostalgia for it at all. Like, I know about it, and I knew of it, and that was about it. But, like, all of the thrilling scenes where there's about to be, like, a character death, and then I hear, and I just couldn't take it seriously at all. It took me so out of the moment, and I was like, this is just goofy. Like, it definitely sounds like a person just going into a microphone, and it sounds like it's supposed to be the killer.
Actually, it was ma ma ma. It was actually a spoiler. That's actually what it is. Like, it actually is ki ma ma ma.
And like,
I mean,
looked at the lyrics.
I've just watched the documentary and the composer was on it and said that's what it was.
Oh, okay. Like, he exposed the meaning.
Yeah. I think it even. I could be wrong about this, but I could be just remembering things that didn't happen. I think he also said like it was supposed to be like kill, 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 ma ma ma, but he ended up shortening it before he even like recorded it.
You know, just the consonant sound of ch, which is not even closely resemblant to kill, kill, kill.
It's not ch. It's different.
It doesn't make a difference when you're watching the movie and all you hear is ch and not.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's great.
It took me out of the moment.
Do you really?
I don't mind it. I don't really think it's great.
You backed up.
I'm joking. I don't care. Like, my mindset is I don't care. I just know that hating it, I feel like it's going to get... If this video ever actually, like, blows up and people see this, hating it is going to be a spicy take, I'm sure.
And that's fair.
Because there are people who love it. I don't care one way or the other. I don't have a problem with it at all. It did not take me out of any scenes. I was fine with it.
Also, look behind the curtains. Me and Austin watched Under Wraps earlier, right before we watched Friday the 13th. And I can say for a matter of fact, people are blinded by nostalgia.
Yeah, that's
People
fair.
were rating that movie 10 out of 10. Not a 10 out of 10.
So if this is the only video, guys, you watch, and or you're Isaiah, Under Wraps is a 97 decom about a mummy, and it has rave reviews on the internet, even though it is a hot pile of trash.
A 97 what?
Decom, Disney Channel original movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It does have Patrick Starr's voice actor.
It does.
Mummy, though.
But
Wait,
this is not that. We already did a video.
Movie.
Then it's a good movie.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? You're right.
All right. You know what? You're right. Next week we're talking about Under Wraps. No. No.
Yeah, on the whole, I liked it, but the thing really took me out of a lot of the moments that were supposed to be like thrilling in this movie. And I was just like, oh, yeah, this is silly.
This is silly.
Yeah.
But the kills were not silly.
No.
The kills were very well done.
Yeah. Oh, well. They were great. The song is great. You guys are wrong. No.
I mean, something about soundtracks. I have one rule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not a fan of synthesizers.
Mm.
And it was 1980.
Oh, you're gonna have a lot of trouble with a lot of the movies we watch on this.
They were riding the synthesizer wave. I get it.
There were.
Yeah.
I feel like that is an instrument that has never. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of synthesizer.
That's fair.
But I am appreciative of scary movies that actually have a soundtrack where there is music going on, and it's not just noise being made, like metal grinding against a wheel or something, just like kind of tense sounds. Because there are a lot of modern scary movies that do that, where it's just like they'll hit one key on a piano and it reverbs a lot, and then somebody will make a tense scrapey sound, And you see it in like a preview for every movie. It's like, walking into the house. Oh, it's like a good place to live. Oh, it's saying it's a scary movie. And this one actually had songs that were happening.
Yeah.
Which, I can appreciate.
Ma.
There was a score.
Yeah.
Also, that wasn't a synthesizer. That was a guy's voice. Thank you very much.
Oh, that
Right, that was unfortunately, guys.
Well, this has been the first ever episode of Horror Boys. I think it wasn't as much of a train wreck as I was partially scared because I didn't know how this was going to be going in. I think we pulled out something kind of good. Maybe. Who knows? Man, you tell us if you watched this.
In the comments below.
Whoa.
Make sure to like and subscribe. Or
I mean, please do. Actually, we need that.
It'd be cool. If you did.
Yeah, we will be back next week with what? That's right, crazy Friday the 13th Part 2. I know. What? Can you believe we're going there?
I actually didn't know what you were going to say.
Yeah, I didn't tell you, but we'll peek behind the curtain as well. We are also typically, if we start talking about a series of movies, expect us to watch all of them.
The whole
just because it would be silly not to, in my mind, because I have OCD and that's how my brain works.
Are you telling me or?
I'm telling you and the audience for the first time. Like, a little bit of both. It's both. Yeah. We're going to be watching the Friday the 13th movies. This is our first 10 episodes of this podcast. Woo! Woo! All right. This has been the podcast. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.